Spiritual or astral attacks are also known as panic attacks. The term astral comes from the astral plane or simply the invisible world. The entities who are responsible for these spiritual attacks usually come from the lowest level of the astral plane, which is closer to our own material world. People confuse the spiritual attacks with panic attacks because the symptoms are the same. Elevated heart rate, sudden headache, shortness of breath, and overall sudden sense of physical unwellness, a sense of panic. Unless there is a clear medical reason for this state of chaos in your physical body, you're probably experiencing a spiritual attack. What causes these attacks and what can we do to prevent them? Now I'm going to explain the process of creating the cause of the spiritual attack. And usually, not always, but usually, the spiritual or astral attacks are caused by the so-called thought forms, which are sent by someone. These thought forms can be sent intentionally or unintentionally. And actually, a vast portion of negative malevolent thought forms are sent unintentionally. Most people are actually not aware about the damage they can cause. All people, that is, can cause this damage. Negative, malevolent thought forms are created when someone or a group of people talk or think negatively about you. These can be people towards which you yourself might not have been very kind, or simply people who experience anger, jealousy, or disdain for you for no obvious reason. It is through the process of negative talk that these thought forms, malevolent negative thought forms, are created. That can be simply negatively gossiping about someone, criticizing someone, judging someone, but just a gossip, negative talk about someone can also give birth to these negative, malevolent thought forms. Now, what happens on the astral plane, because we know that before anything happens on our material plane, it has to already have happened in the invisible plane. So what happens in the invisible plane, on the astral plane, as I said, the lower levels, these thought forms turn into larvae. The thought forms give birth to so-called larvae. Once created, the larvae always attack the target, and the person can experience a panic attack. It is the law of the universe, however, that these already created larvae eventually will come back to their creator. That explains the fact why people who are generally pessimistic, negative, or dark tend to remain this way. They are being attacked not only by their own negativity and darkness, but also by the malevolent thought forms which they constantly create. Now, let's go back to what can we do to prevent these spiritual attacks. Well, the first thing is to start working on our own mind. We need to observe our own mind, pay attention to our thoughts, and once we start being negative about something, we need to immediately stop and direct our thoughts in a more positive direction, positive aspect. But if you start experiencing a spiritual attack, you need to be at the level where you're gonna recognize that that is a panic attack, a spiritual attack. Usually it's sudden, so you know pretty quick. And for this case, you need to have at hand, close to you, a previously blessed and purified prayer beads, crystals, or any very dear to you object. It can be an icon, it can be a picture of a saint, it can be anything that is very dear to you. Again, it has to be previously blessed, previously purified. You can bless it yourself, you can purify it yourself, and for this process we can have a different lecture. The second thing you need to have, which you probably want to keep together with the prayer beads or the crystals, is a very short prayer or anything that corresponds to your own religious upbringing. Can be a mantra, a chant, prayer from your own religious education. So for me, I'm a Christian. I use the Lord's Prayer, which I know by heart. Preferably you learn something by heart, but you can just have it written on a piece of paper and keep it handy together with your prayer beads. And once you have that, once you start experiencing this spiritual attack, it is very important you remove yourself from the location you are. So if you're sitting at a desk in front of a computer, you need to just get up and go outside. Go to a different room, go out on the street, go to a garden, go to a porch, a balcony, anything different. And then you need to hold the prayer beads or the crystals or very dear object, again, previously blessed and purified at the regular basis. And you need to start repeating this short prayer or a mantra or a chant, whatever you know will work for you. Now, this is something that once you start doing, it will work. It might not work the first time. However, once you get the hang of it, it will eventually work. The second kind of spiritual astral attacks are a little bit scarier, and they require more description, more talk, more in-depth talk. Those are the so-called spiritual or astral attacks while you're asleep. And these can be pretty scary because it's not just a bad dream, it's not a nightmare, it's usually pretty horrendous and you cannot wake up. And once you wake up, you're either barely breathing or your heart rate is beating really fast. And obviously you're very uncomfortable and terrified. Now, these astral attacks in your sleep happen, first of all, when you're sleeping, your mind is at rest to some extent and is more open to attacks. So one thing we can do is every time before we go to bed, we need to say a specific prayer to our guardian angel, to ask our guardian angel to keep us safe, to watch over us while we're asleep. You can say also your prayers. Again, you need to say prayers that know they work for you. So for example, you can read Psalm 91 from the Bible. You can also read Psalm 6. And you can also definitely say the Lord's Prayer and address your guardian angel by thanking him for the day and asking him to watch over you while you're asleep. You need to repeat this prayer to your guardian angel 3 times. This is important. Also, next to in your bedroom, you need to purify your bedroom at a regular basis through burning essence, playing different prayers or different calming music, purifying music on your phone. You can sing it if you want, but I play it on my phone in the bedroom to clear the space. You can sprinkle some salt. You can also have crystals. Be careful with the crystals, but usually amethyst lapis lazuli and quartz, clear quartz should do. And you need to keep this next to you, next to your bed also. And before you go to sleep, it's important that you don't do any electronics. You have a half an hour of relaxing your body and consciously thinking about being protected while you're asleep. Now, that might look like a lot of work to you, but it's not. Once you start doing it, it becomes like a routine, and it's almost something like having a cup of tea. It is something you do, you feel good, you're comfortable, you gradually start achieving a state of balance. As always, thank you for listening. Now I will be adding links to recorded prayers, solfeggio frequencies, even classical music that work very well for clearing the space around you in the description or in the comments. Also, please share your own experiences if you would like, and if you're interested in hearing more talks covering this subject.